Hey, good morning everybody. Jerry here with Tiki 7-1. Today we're going to be potting up the Plumerias that we actually started end of October, first part of November. As you can see right here, I've actually got my Plumerias put together here, all together. I've got a couple that are lagging a little bit behind, but that's okay. I've got great root structure starting on them and they're putting out new growth, and it's time to go ahead and pot them up into some bigger pots and give them a great start and start boosting these things so they'll start producing flowers really quickly. This is how I do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is do about a 50-50 mix of moisture control potting soil and perlite. We want our plumerias to have really good drainage, and so this is going to help with that. Don't breathe this stuff in though. Wet it down if you have to, because it's like blown glass. It's from volcanic rock that's puffed up and heated, and it's bad for your lungs. Now I am going to add something extra to this to give it a little help. This stuff is like nectar of the gods to new starts. It's called Biotone Starter. It's a starter plant food, and it's got mycorrhizae, and it's really good. And when you open this up, there is no mistaking that it's good for your plants, because it's a little bit hideous. It's got that fish fertilizer smell to it. Yeah, it's very good for your plants. No, it is good. So we're going to add some of this right now. This is where you get to really connect with your plants and their food. Time to mix it up. Once you get some of that soil over it, it's not so bad. No, it's not that bad, really. So once you get done, you should have the consistency. It should kind of look like if you took a bag of Oreos and crushed them up in a baggie. This is what it ought to look like right here. See that? I bought 4 7-quart pots. I'm gonna put some rocks in the bottom, and then we're gonna start adding our mix here. One of the things that I'm going to do as I go is I'm going to water this down. That way we're not sticking that into super dry soil. Now that I have my pot prepped and ready, I'm going to get the rock off of here that we put on earlier. I'm going to set it off to the side, because we're going to come back and use that again later to put it on top of the new pot. What we've got to be careful of though is, you see all these roots on the side here? We want to be extremely careful not to cut into those, because what we're going to have to do here, this is not just going to lift out of this 2-liter. We're actually going to have to cut it out. This has been very helpful though for us to be able to see the roots, but now we need to get it off, put it in a regular pot. You'll notice there's some green growing in here because this is clear. It's helpful for the first few months, but you do want to get it into a regular black pot. That'll stop that algae from growing there. And we're going to clear some of that stuff off too. So now I've got to very carefully take a knife and cut this without cutting the roots. I think I'm going to go right there. What you can try to do is start it and then just try to peel this thing away ever so gently. I'm going to take this label off too, because we're going to relabel the pot. We've got 4 different colors that came in that kit, and we do want to keep track of that. Golly, this thing had roots hit the bottom and start coming back up to the top. Look at there. That is awesome. One of the main problems you're going to run into with the 2 liters are the nubs at the bottom. If you have to, cut it away here and then pull down. And so that's what I'm going to do here. Cut like that. That way I can go that way with it. Look at all those roots, would you? She was happy. Very happy. Now, yep, she's just about ready to lift. Here's what we've got here. Wipe some of that stuff away there. Golly, would you look at that? That's awesome. Now you may want to check as you pull them out of your container. You want to knock some of this topsoil away and just check the base of your trunk here for any rot, anything like that. If you don't have good root development around the top portion, knock that dirt away so that you have a new starting point for your soil to go down from there. Because what you don't want is for this thing to rot out. If you've been careful and being really light on the watering during the root development and getting that cutting established, you're probably good to go. In this case, we've got roots all over this thing. I'm going to knock some of that green stuff out, and we're going to get that taken care of. The other thing that I want here is I want a lip from the top of the soil to there, because I'm going to have the rock in there and I want to be able to water. So I'm going to take a little bit of that out, and then we're going to level this soil that's in here, pack it down a bit, and go to town here. I'll tell you another thing that I'm going to do right from the get-go here is I'm going to add a stake to kind of help this thing stay supported as it grows. Because it's going to be outside from now on, and we have a lot of wind and stuff like that, and I don't want the wind taking this thing and the wings that are up on the top side here and knocking it over. So that's going to help give it some support. The other thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep this soil cleared from the top area, but I'm going to pack it in pretty good. Not mad dog, but I'm going to pack this thing in. I don't want it as loose as some other plants that I might pot up. There's all kinds of ways to grow stuff, folks. There are people that have been doing this for years. I know a lot of folks have issues with getting their plumerias to bloom. And I'm not saying this is the end-all be-all. However, I bought 4 little bitty cuttings last year. They've grown into really good-sized plumeria. They bloomed all season long from the first few months. You know, it took about, it was about the same time frame on this. It was about late October, early November when I planted the cuttings, and then potted them up in late March, early April. And with what I'm about to do, they really took off, and they ate this stuff up that I'm about to show you and bloomed like crazy all season long. I'm going to feed about once a week on these. For the next couple of weeks, I'm probably only going to do it every 2 weeks, but when we start getting really warm and into May especially, I'm going to feed every week with what I'm about to show you here. Take some of this extra stuff off because we're going to put the rock in. We'll go ahead and do that now. And so I had a viewer ask me about their leaves looking really bad. These early sets of leaves, a lot of times are going to be kind of marginal. They're going to look real good at first, and then they're going to get kind of but they're going to send out new growth, and those next leaves are going to be really strong. These have also been attacked by the same stuff that attacked some of my other things before I brought them out to the greenhouse. I have treated them with neem and some towel star. And so these next leaves are going to be really strong. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the feed. And the feed, what I want you to do is get a 2-gallon jug that looks kind of, it doesn't have to look like this, but get you a 2-gallon jug. And what I want you to do is I want you to put 2 ounces of fish fertilizer in it. Can be any kind at all. This fish fertilizer stuff is really good though. It's gentle and they seem to love it. And the other thing, this is what I do, and it works for me, is I use Hawaiian Bud and Bloom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 2 ounces of fish fertilizer and 2 gallons of water and 1 scoop of Hawaiian Bud and Bloom. This is what it looks like here. It's just a nice little blue crystal. Comes with a scooper in it. And I put that into 2 gallons of water. And now I'm going to water this thing in with this. And that's actually what I feed with once a week in the summertime. And right now it'll be every 2 weeks. That's some good stuff right there. We're going to water this thing now till it flows out the bottom with this. And oh, she's going to be so happy. She's going to take those roots and go all over this pot over the growing season. But now what I can do is I can take this black pot to keep it from falling over. I'm going to take it and put it in my raised bed. I'm going to dig out a little hole. I'm going to put this in there, and then I'm going to mulch over the whole pot. You won't see the pot. But with plumerias especially, you don't want to bring them out until your temperatures are consistently at a minimum in the low 50s. But by doing it this way, because my winters are not in the low 50s, I'm going to be able to pull them up out of the ground, maybe repot it, put it back in the greenhouse, and we'll be good to go come next spring. But it makes it a whole lot easier when it comes time to bring them in. One of these days I might retire to Florida or Hawaii, but for now, this has got to work. Now that we've got her potted up, I'm going to go find a little shady spot in the garden because they still need to be kind of hardened off a little bit. Been sitting in the greenhouse, and so I'm just going to put it down here, give them a little rest for a couple of days, and then we will plant them out in the full sun. Well guys, I hope you found this helpful and you have great success in growing your Plumeria. If you have any pictures of yours growing, send them to us over on our Facebook page at Tiki71. You can reply to a comment, message them to us, whatever. We'd love to see them, and they might just show up in a future video. And if you have time, hit that thumbs up if you found this helpful, or subscribe and share it, because that really helps us out. Thank you so much, and we will see you in the next video. Okule Maluna.